Right. Let's get started going after that ferry that the random pirate decided to kidnap and sell. Really wish the game did more to tell us where that caravan the pirate sold her to is. With the sheer number of other things I have to look online for, though, it's hard to feel all that annoyed by just another thing. We have gotten very used to that particular issue in this game. Though I suppose I apparently haven't gotten used to the idea that we're not allowed to land in the desert for some reason. Seriously, the first time we took off in this game, in this same airship, we grabbed it from the desert. It is flat, unlike the mountains. It is dry, unlike the swamps, lakes, or ocean. I don't see the problem. And it's not like the game will change things in that regard when we restore the wind crystal, so I don't think it has to do with sandstorms or other possible things covering it up or something. It's just an arbitrary limit for the sake of making things more annoying for us. We can work around it, but sometimes I can't help feeling we shouldn't have to. Anyway, nice to see that Wesker is hitting significantly harder, but he's still nowhere near the same striking range as Boromir or Tyson. Anyway, time to search for the caravan that, for some annoying reason, is not immediately obvious in the bloody desert it's supposed to be found in. Why can't we see something from above to give us the sense of where it is that we need to go? I mean, sure, a small desert right next to a large desert is one possible sign, but it's not the kind of sign that someone who has never played the game before will go, that must be where the caravan is. It only seems obvious if you've been there before. As a side note, I can't help finding it oddly funny that the only thing we could buy from this store at first was the plot-critical item, the most expensive thing they've got. Once we got that, everything else is available. Equally funny is that this caravan only has one person in it. When I think of a caravan, I essentially think of a mobile village, partly because my mental image involves either gypsy caravans or the sort of land convoys you might see when people in America decide to start settling further west and couldn't be patient enough to wait for the railroads to be built. Not that towns and cities in various role-player games are generally as large as they probably need to be classified as such. It's just something that caught my attention. Huh. I would have thought that we'd wait until we got to the lake that the fairy lived in before letting her free. It's not that we had any dialogue at any point where she was demanding to be freed or something. I know it had to happen sometime, but why was the trigger that we walked into the village, period, instead of us walking next to the lake? And why did they have to make the lake this far away from where we started? It's a bit of a long walk, and while I could hold the cancel button to essentially sprint, I don't think that was a thing in the original release, so I'm not going to do it here. Besides, it's not like there's some in-game reason for us to want to be in any particular hurry to get things done. We've seen and heard nothing about some kind of imminent collapse of society. Even in Melmond, where they were using gravestones like walls, things seemed relatively calm. Hey, I can completely understand. I don't think that portal gave you much room to stretch your wings. I just would have liked some warning before you zipped off. It would have been a bit ridiculous if that pirate had another portal handy and was going to sell you again the instant we were out of sight. And with that critical item, we're able to enter the water dungeon, because of course the water shrine is currently underwater, and we're going to be fighting a lot of aquatic beasts in it. Good to know the magical item doesn't have any time limits. Hell, I don't think it was really possible to make any kind of time limits in a game when this was first released. Yeah, Somehow wasn't expecting him to have anything fresh to say. Still, it was worth checking, just like it's worth checking if the magic stores will let us buy something. Still nothing yet. Come on, we've got the money, let us give it to you. Anyway, let's see what's next on our agenda now that we've got the ability to breathe underwater. It's not like I remember off the top of my head where the game put the entrance to the water shrine. So we're being attacked by a desert animal in the middle of a swamp. I'm not gonna bother asking what a Beretta is in terms of animals. I only know it's a brand of gun. It's a fact that desert was part of the creature's name, and we aren't anywhere near the sand here. Really feels like I should be more free with magical attacks, considering how little damage our mages can do physically. Unfortunately, I just want to conserve our magic for when we're in actual trouble, not when dealing with the easy stuff. Anyway, looks like I was wrong, and there are more towns with more stores for us to deal with than Gaia. Nice to know. How many other wells have I checked over the course of the game? Probably fewer than the number of headstones. I just keep expecting more, considering they're interactable. Yeah, we noticed and bought it. Well, you kinda need water to catch fish, and I think you're throwing your line into the grass here. I'm sorry to say that nonsense stories like that tend to have a bit more truth to them in stories like this than real life. So while I can understand why you're a bit skeptical, yeah. The camera is rolling, and I'm sure that whatever fell from the sky is going to be important later on. Not even sure why I bothered trying to buy the level 7 spells in this town, though. I doubt they're any more accessible than they were in Gaia. Ah, well, at least I'm not tense enough to check both magic stores just to be sure. Well, I'm pretty sure I was born with them. Why are you asking? Is it rather common around here for people to steal feet from other people around here? Ah, so somehow I was supposed to stumble onto this village before Gaia or something. And this is where we were supposed to learn where the caravan is, or at least approximately where it is. Wait, a dragon is just casually living in the same town as all these humans? That's pretty amazing, since generally dragons act even more arrogant than elves in most fantasy stories. And with good reason. When you are the peak of non-protagonist power, regardless of if you're a good guy or bad guy, it's easy to get comfortable lording it over everyone else. Well, I don't think we're going to have to find the Rosetta Stone or anything along those lines. Though, I could be wrong. Hell, I didn't even remember that this village even exists. So I wouldn't be surprised if there are other blank spaces in my memory of this game. Wait, so there is a Rosetta Stone and we have to remember the exact town that the scientist guy I barely remember was in? So when we get it, we send it to him? I'm sorry, that's gonna be a bit tough to remember on my own. I'd probably find it even more obnoxious if it wasn't for the fact that I'm following online guides so much just to get this far into the game. Oh god, are there actually leg thieves here? Do we have to worry about someone just cutting the legs out from under us so they can have a more athletic model? Wait, no, this isn't that kind of dark story. This game doesn't have anywhere near the kind of writing that would shift over to something that horrifying. Still, that's two people who've talked about having legs that you aren't born with. That's a bit of a worrying pattern. Ah, mermaids. I guess a good number of them want to learn about the surface world around here. Maybe grab some surface men, since for some reason they're not attracted to the mermen, assuming those even exist. That kind of explains the whole legs thing. I'm sorry, how did the village become worse in 200 years? It looks pretty standard to me. At least Melmond made things look relatively bleak. There were significantly more gravestones, the ground looked pretty sickly, there were ruins in the town itself, but the only problem I see here is that the paved roads seem to be getting slowly claimed by the grass. In fact, it's so pleasant looking that I forgot the name of the place while we were walking through it. It just feels like generic small town number 7. And as I said, I forgot that this town existed at all. At most, it's essentially the entrance to the next major shrine. Speaking of, it looks like I'm gonna have to give us another abrupt cutoff point later on in this clip, since I spent so damn long going through the water shrine. The next bit of raw footage is 53 minutes long, and I have no clue how much I'm gonna feel is something I can fast forward through. I know that I can stuff the opening of that into this clip, and keep things at a healthy length, but we'll have to wait until the next clip for me to actually get started down there. Partly because I kind of feel like I need to give myself a break relatively soon in this clip. It's one of the many reasons I tend to prefer working on text commentaries instead of audio. If I'm just typing the commentary, I don't have to feel annoyed at how fast it feels like my throat dries out as I'm reading the script I wrote for a given clip. Apparently, I'm gonna be going out of town to grab some extra supplies before heading down to the water shrine. Understandable. We're gonna be down there for a while since it's one of the major shrines that we absolutely need to complete if we want to get to the final boss. I still kind of find it funny that the main dungeons we have to go through are more challenging than the supposed test of courage we went through to gain the upgraded classes we earned from Bahamut. Hell, Bahamut is, while not generally a character in later Final Fantasies, is going to be a recurring element. He's gonna last longer in this franchise than the elemental crystals thing. I can't really call his appearance in this game a cameo, since he hasn't gotten an established role yet. This is his absolute first appearance, period. But as someone who's more familiar with his later appearances, it ends up feeling like a cameo in how I interpret it. He's in the game just for the sake of saying basically hello, and will not show up in any way, shape, or form after that in this story. And it's part of why I'm annoyed we didn't get to fight him to prove ourselves. He's a dragon king. Just by being a king of dragons, he should be a very scary bastard to deal with. So if he's not helping to save the world and not helping to destroy it, dear God, he comes across as lazy. Which is very odd to say for what is going to be one of, if not the strongest summon we'll have in a number of other Final Fantasy games. Yeesh! Even just getting back to the town is a bit of attrition, since those desert things refuse to actually wander around in the frickin' desert. Please don't tell me we're gonna run into those winter wolf things when we're underwater. I am really getting sick of seeing that particular family of palette swaps in this game. I mean, sure, technically speaking, it could have been something less intimidating than a wolf that we would see over and over again, But we've been seeing wolves since the absolute first clip of the game. We've graduated from dealing with goblins. I think we can afford to not deal with wolves anymore either. Especially when we're strong enough to casually kill hydras. I'm surprised you'd know if something was mechanical, since I haven't really seen too many examples of technology in this world other than the airship, which we're the only owners of one. Can you please tell me how we're supposed to get to where we can save the mermaids, then? Okay, apparently the woman was a mermaid. Kinda wish we'd seen the tail as she went into the water, but eh. Wait, we're really going to just drop into the ocean with a barrel? I know that a submarine would be awkward to have, but still, we've already got the oddly out-of-place airship. Why are we using a barrel to go into the Atlantis-like location?